Hello, welcome to RuneFest. Come on, scream and shout, keep it going. Welcome to the main stage of RuneFest 2015. Yes, come on, get it going. We have the combat team coming up here for their first showing. Who's here to see what's happening in RuneFest, in RuneScape's combat system? Who's interested in combat? Who wants to hear what we're doing next year and this year with combat? Come on. All right, well, we have Mod Pie, we have Mod Days, we have Deg, we've got Mod Ollie, and we've got Mod Ramen here to talk to you about what we've done with combat and what we're going to be doing with combat in the coming year. Give them a shout, yes!
All right, thanks Connor. Good morning everyone. Right, who wants to hear about some combat then? And everyone in the stream, let's get a Kappa 1, 2, 3 in the stream as well. Okay, so we're going to talk to you a bit about combat today. I'm Mod Ollie, this is
Mod Avatar.
Jesus.
This is Mod Pie. Mod Days. Mod Ramen.
Woo, Ramen!
I'm Mod Deg.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking to you about a bit about PvP, DarkScape, we've had go out recently, and then we're going to go through some PVM, bit of a timeline, history of PVM, what we've done before, PVM this year, 2015, and then what you're all waiting for, PVM in 2016 as well. So, let's kick it off with some PvP. We're going to hand it over to Mod Pie to talk us through some of that.
You alright, guys? Right. I don't think you're alright. That didn't sound like you're right. Let's try again. Right. Are you alright, guys? Yay! That's awesome. Right, let's talk PvP. PvP in 2015 has been awesome because actually the PvP community has grown. Mainly through the warbands, guys, and we've been working with you guys quite a bit to improve the PvP system for what you want, and that's something we're dedicated to do next year, so we're going to keep that up. But let's talk about something a bit more juicy, something for PvP next year, and we've got quite a few updates for you. So the first one I'm going to talk about is one you might have heard of already, but we think it's awesome. It's Duel Anywhere. We're going to allow you to duel anywhere on RuneScape. It's going to be a right-click option. You're going to right-click duel, so when that guy tells you to get off his rune rocks, you're going to be able to throw down the gauntlet and say, fight me for it. It's going to be awesome. The next one we're going to release is something the PvP community has been asking for me for ages, and I haven't done it because I'm mean. We're going to take our PvP worlds and we're going to turn them into high-risk wilderness worlds. One-itemers have been a problem for ages. It's time to show them what's what. High-risk wilderness worlds, risk everything, put it on the line, be a man. So, the last one, I'm quite excited about this one, because I asked you guys on Twitter what you wanted, and over 50% of you said you wanted it, so I went to Dave and went, can I do it? He's like, yeah, why not? So we're going to give you Bounty Hunter Worlds. Woo! Sorry, was that? There we go. We're going to give you Bounty Hunter Worlds. So you're going to go into the wildy, you're going to be assigned a target, you're going to get to kill that guy, get some points, spend those points on some epic loot so that you don't have to rely on what the other guy's carrying to make money whilst PvPing. You're going to be it's going to be self-sustaining. So that's PvP in the main game. Now you might have realized that we released another game recently. Who's heard of DarkScape? Yeah. Oh, I'm really happy now. So put your hand up if you've played DarkScape. Awesome. Keep your hand up if you've died in DarkScape. That's awesome. You guys have died an awful lot in DarkScape, actually. There's been a total of 6.6 million kills in just the first 3 weeks. And what I'm really proud of is 5 million of those kills are from PvP kills. You guys have been wrecking places, and it's brilliant to watch. Like Lumbridge Day 1, you didn't even let them out of Lumbridge. You are cruel. So it's been awesome, but what are we planning for DarkScape next year? So there's one glaring omission with DarkScape, and it's one that we want to fix as quickly as possible. You might have noticed it that dungeoneering isn't in there. We removed it because it's really easy to train in dungeoneering, and that's not what DarkScape's about. It's not easy. But we want to put it back. So what we're going to give you is we're going to allow you to raid other people's dungeons. That means that when you When you go in, you can choose to start your own or raid somebody else's, and when you PK them, they'll get kicked out of the dungeon and you can complete it for them. You'll get all their XP, they'll get none. It's brilliant, right? Right, next up, what we're going to do is we want you to define yourselves, right? So you've got a lot of guys going out there ragging people, killing lots of people. You've got lots of guys going out there counter-ragging and stopping them. We want to know who those guys are. So what we're going to do is going to put a long-term sculling system in the game. If you go around killing lots of people, you're going to get a permanent red skull above your head. The guards are going to know who you are, but what's also better is the highest kills, red-skulled people, are going to go on a bounty board, and the guards will pay you money to find them, kill them, ruin their day like they ruined everybody else's day. Now, being a murderer sounds pretty bad, but when you've got that red skull, you're going to get a faster rate of experience. But on the counter side, if you go around killing the murderers, you're going to get a blue skull, and you're going to get the same bonuses. We were talking about this, and there's another little thing that we wanted to put in, and that's when someone PKs you, you're going to be able to use your cash to put their name on the bounty board and get other people to kill them for you. It's pretty sweet. The final one is something that's in progress. If you look on the DarkScape Reddit at the moment, it's at the top. You guys have told us that you're not happy with the legacy system. And we kind of want to prove a point about DarkScape. We're not scared to make massive changes with DarkScape. It's a game that's been out not very long. So if you guys want to change things, we're all for it. So I'm just going to talk quickly about these, because there's an awful lot to go over. Find me afterwards. Give me your opinions. So there's 4 things you guys raised. The first one was weapon diversity is rubbish, right? A tier 30 weapon is a tier 30 weapon. I'm bored. So what we're going to do is we're going to imbalance inside the tier. So a two-hander is going to be your hard-hitting weapon. It's not going to have as good DPS. Your dagger's going to be more accurate, but not as good DPS. Your skimmies are just going to, well, they're not going to change. They're your reliable. You love them. You told us strength. You feel it could do more. So what we're going to do is we're going to take strength and we're going to make it a global skill. So all 3 combat styles will use strength. And we're going to change our weapons so that you get a base damage value plus an X amount per strength. So you can really see how much your strength is helping you, and strength isn't going to be this useless skill that's in there because melee, lol. You know, it's going to really, really help you. Yeah, you will be able to. So, what else did you say? Oh yeah, you guys, you keep on saying this, like you feel the triangle's too enforced. So we're down with that. So we're happy to reduce the effectiveness of the combat triangle and the accuracy calculation, and perhaps even remove it. If that's what you guys want, that's cool. What we want to do is redefine styles as ways to play. So your melee guys are going to be your hard-hitting bruisers, big defensive, get in there, kill them with burst damage. Your rangers are going to be these nippy glass cannons that are going to go in, do lots of DPS, and the mage guys are going to control you and make you cry, basically, until you die. But we want the combat triangle not to be something that's enforced, but defines what you are, and we want to help support the hybrids out there, because I think we can all agree watching a hybrid do its thing is absolutely beautiful. The final thing I want to talk about is armor. Who here thinks armor is useless? Be honest. We're gonna sort that. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna up damage mitigation on all armor. So you're gonna put on a piece of armor and you know it's gonna lower the amount of damage you get. But we're also going to, like we're doing with the weapons for diversity, we're also gonna add set effects to all armors in the game, so that when you wear this piece of armor, you are doing that thing, and there's a good reason for you to take that armor. So that's DarkScape. What's going on in PVM? Okay, so I think we all agree that's pretty exciting stuff. Okay, so next up, we're going to go on to PVM, and we're going to talk about basically the history of PVM, where we've been, what as developers we've learned about in PVM, and how that's going to affect us going forward. So I'm going to hand it over to
Mods Ramen and Mod Days to go through a bit about that.
Cool, so I'm going to be kicking this off. Obviously, we're going to be kicking this off with God Wars. We can't forget King Black Dragon and Calfight Queen. So way back in 2007, we released God Wars for not just one boss, but 4 bosses. This is really where we started to see PvM become a big thing. God Wars is really one of our most timeless pieces of content, seeing many players still go through this day. Whether it's to get the boss pets, make a bit of money, or just to have a bit of fun. I forgot what I was going to say. This is me.
So we said that Ramen was the most likely to mess up on stage, and I think we've all quids in with that bet. Okay. Yeah, a little round of applause for Ramen. Okay, so moving swiftly on.
Cool. Next up, the following year, we released the Corporeal Beast. Previous year with God Wars, we released 4 bosses, but this year we wanted to just focus on one and make it the hardest yet. Fun fact, on release, a common tactic with Corp is you poison the Dark Core, and that reduces the attack rate. This was actually a bug on release, and we liked it so much that we kept it in as a tactic. What did we learn, though? Giving a large health pool to a boss isn't enough to make it difficult. You guys got together and you did your Corp masses like in the hundreds, and it's carried on for years and years. So going forward, we'd need to have crowd control mechanics or add group size limits like we did in Raids, 10 man.
Cool. Moving into 2011, where we had the release of Nex. Here's something you don't know about Nex. Nex was actually originally a prototype for Nomad in the Nomad's Requiem boss fight. It really goes to show how if a piece of content doesn't quite work for one thing, we can put it aside and use it at a later date. Nex was a massive game changer in the PvM scene. Not just a tank and spank boss fight, but a boss of real mechanics and different things. We can't obviously forget the introduction of Torva, Virtus, and Pernix, armors which continue to sell for billions after release. Nex even had a massive impact on clans, seeing clans come together and war each other, just like they did with Corporal Beast. These were clans like PSO, Nex Specialists, Pride and Domination, and even Zero. Moving on to Queen Black Dragon, which was released soon after and actually announced at RuneFest 2011, I believe. Yeah, correct. So this was RuneScape's first Force solo boss, and what did we learn from it? We really learned that players do like solo bosses. They don't always want to have to find a team. So moving on from here, we're learning, we know you want solo bosses, so hopefully you'll see a bit on that later.
At the end of 2012, we released the Evolution of Combat, and with that, we promised you that we'd be able to deliver bosses unlike anything that you've ever seen before. And the Calfight King was the first chance for us to flex our muscles and show you what we could do. This was a brand new combat system, and this meant we had the massive learning curve to get over. So we overestimated the difficulty on release. We didn't realise how good you guys would be. You were getting kills faster, which meant items were coming into the game quicker than we expected. This meant over time the items have lost value. We had to learn quickly, and hopefully with bosses like Virago, you've seen that items have kept their value much better.
Speaking of Virago, next up we did indeed have the release of Virago, a many-stage boss fight. Some of the inspiration for Virago came from things like Shadow of the Colossus, massive, massive bosses. An inspiration was also the Balrog from Lord of the Rings, where falling through Virago's many stages was Gandalf fighting the Balrog. After the initial release of Virago, we released 3 more phases. This was really something we enjoyed. It was a boss we loved. So over time, in lunchtimes, we developed more phases. And then this even led to Virago Hard Mode, one of PvM's greatest challenges, which introduced new titles, new armors, and of course, the Bombi Pet. It really goes to show how if we love a boss and you guys love a boss, we can update it, keep it fresh, make it awesome.
Barrows is one of our oldest bits of PvM content, but as the years have gone on, new bosses have been released, you guys have moved on. You don't go there anymore. But with the Sith Age and Slisco being a key player, we wanted Barrows to be a main part of the game again, so enter Rise of the Six, or as it was known in development, Super Barrio Brothers. We experimented with quite a lot of different themes in development, and one of the ones that nearly made the cut but didn't quite make it was the idea of travelling back in time to when the Barrows brothers were still human. What did we learn from it though? we thought that making a full-size party would make the boss more accessible compared to bosses like Virago. This didn't prove to be the case, so in the future we'd have to look at solo or duo experiences to increase accessibility.
So, moving on to Araxor, and of course, Araxi. As I said earlier, another solo boss. This was, obviously it had the option to be duoed, but it was mainly enforced as a solo boss. We really tried something different with Araxi. We wanted more of a build your own boss fight, or deal with what mechanic you wanted to deal with and leave out what you didn't. This then affected the drops. It's a real different drop system rather than just getting, the Torva plate body or a banned Ostacets drop. Araxor was even one of the first bosses to introduce achievements. And what did we learn from that? We learned that you really do like achievements. So then we applied it to raids, and hopefully we'll apply it to more bosses in the future.
Okay, so that is a little history of the PVM we've had so far in game. And I'm going to struggle to see this next slide. Oh, I've gone too far. Okay, so now we're going to move on to PVM in 2015. What have we done this year, and how have we carried the lessons we've learned that we've just gone over into this year and helped create new content for the game? So I'm going to hand that one over to ModPie.
All right, guys. I want you to help me here. The Wildy Worm is back! Even ask for help.
No, it isn't.
Oh, yes, it is. Right. So the Wildy Worm is something you guys have been asking us for ages. So you might know we have this thing called Tap. We get one day every two weeks, and we get to make what we want. So it's like, I'm bringing him back. So I made him, and I went to Mod Dean. Who loves Mod Dean? Come on, let's see some Mod Dean love. Thank you. I went to Mod Dean and I said, can I release this? And he's like, well, if you really think they love it this much, prove it to me. So I went on Twitter and I said, hey guys, if you give me 1,000 retweets, I'll bring the Wildy Worm back. Within an hour, I had 1,500 retweets. It was amazing. So we brought him back with some pretty cool weapons, but I think the thing I really like about the Wildy Worm is that it's one of the most rewarding Slayer tasks you can have, and a lot of people don't realize this. The best drop is worth 77 mil still, 8 months down the line, and it's got a 20k 100% drop. Hundreds of people still do this today, but I think we can get thousands, and you guys can make bank.
So the next thing that we released was our first Rune Labs update. So when I started, I was saying that Rune Labs is really cool. Like, it lets you guys pitch content to us, and we get the chance to make stuff that you guys really want. And it also gives us the opportunity to work really closely with you guys, and it's really, really fun. Like, a few of us have worked on some Rune Labs content with a few of you quite closely, and it's great. But the Rune and Addy Dragons won our first Rune Labs, and who can be surprised? I mean, look at them; they're pretty awesome. But not only do they look awesome, they're Slayer, and Slayer is such a popular part of the game, and it's great for us, because it allows us to get that cool middle ground between sort of like normal mobs and kind of a boss fight. So it lets us introduce interesting mechanics to what would otherwise just be a normal encounter. Like mechanics such as the Rune Dragons Enrage, which didn't quite go to plan on launch, and there was a bit of a problem with the enraging, which it wasn't resetting between kills, and it kind of spawned Barry the Dragon, who I'm pretty sure killed dozens and dozens of players before we ended his reign of terror and fixed the bug slightly after launch. But Rune and Addy Dragons, just one of our pieces of Slayer content this year. I'm going to hand you over to Mod Days, who's going to tell you about some of our upcoming Slayer content.
Cool, so this is where I get to feel a bit like Mod Mark and actually announce a future update. So, High Level Slayer Mobs is our last PVM update of the year, and it's another Rune Lab suggestion. So we said to you guys, what sort of monsters do you like? What monsters would you like added? What mechanics would you like to see implemented with them? So we got hundreds of suggestions from you, and we narrowed it down to a top 8. And from that, we put in a player power poll, and we chose the top 4. And these 4 are the Ripper Demons. Just look at them, like dark, mysterious, massive claws, ready to rip you to pieces in an instant. They've got a Bloodlust mechanic, which will aggro based on your current life points. Next up, we've got the Living Wyverns. This wasn't just a case of just adding a layer of flesh to the skeletal version. They're going to have a poisonous breath attack, which is going to deal damage, But if you can cool yourself down, you're going to take less damage. But then you're going to take cold damage, so you can stand next to a fire to warm yourself up. But then you're going to take more poison damage. So you're going to have to find that balance constantly while you're in the area. So it's going to offer a really unique experience. Next, we have the mammoths. These are large, dignified race. I mean, look at the elite version with the monocle on. So these are going to have a charge attack. So challenge them to a duel and they're going to run you down, and they're also going to throw rocks at your face. Pretty impressive. And the last but not least is the camel warrior. This is very, very RuneScape. It's half camel and I don't even know. I've never asked. They're going to attack you with ancient magic, and they're going to summon mirages to confuse you and throw you off your game. So you're really not going to know what's going on. So I hear you say, like, they're pretty cool, right? But you want to know what the sweet new loot is? Yeah? Yeah. So there's going to be 3 new level 85 weapons. Ripper demons are going to drop. You know what, I'm not even going to tell you. If you can't guess on the picture, then just get out. Okay? But they're going to have an ability where they're going to double the damage of all your damage over time abilities. We've got the wyverns, which are going to drop a 2-handed crossbow that is going to build up in power over time the longer you're in battle. So it's going to be really useful for bosses. Camel warriors are going to drop a new staff. This is going to be able to summon a sandstorm, and it's like whirl around your enemy, dealing damage, and throw, like, they won't be able to see through the sand, so they're going to have an accuracy debuff applied as well. And from the mammoth, a new level 99 familiar, a beast of burden with 32 inventory slots. Woo! Yeah, woo! It's delayed. This is all going to be released in November, so expect to see it in game very, very soon.
Awesome. So apparently you guys really like inventory slots, and we should just announce more of that. So, you might have noticed we missed one of the bigger updates of 2015, and that was Raids, of course, a huge update, 10-man content, and we're going to pass it over to Avatar and Deg to talk a little about that.
Oh, I get a go. That's nice. Which of you have tried Raids? Hands up if you tried Raids. Hands down if you died. That's, yeah, me too. Oh, we got one liar in the audience. There we go. Don't trust a single word that guy says all day. There's no shame in dying raids. I developed Durzag, so I have a 2-month head start on dying repeatedly. No one has died more to him than I have, except maybe Mod Ramen. 1 in 10 people have tried to fight Durzag. 1 in 10 people, give or take, have died to Durzag. 220,000 people to date, that is. There's about 7 or 8 times on average people take in order to finally get the kill. But when they do, so sweet. From raids, we really wanted to push the amount of coordination that we wanted from people, the amount of teamwork, how much you had to think about your positioning of both yourself and the enemies you're fighting. Wanted to keep you sort of aware of the arena, things like the cages and the gongs for Durzag. And we also wanted to sort of up our game on like environmental storytelling in boss fights. We wanted you to, look around Mazcab and see that, there's a bit more here than just like one giant air route. There's, there's stuff going on, and there's kind of a story that's going through that we're going to expand on in the future. There's a Gobi quest going out in 2 weeks, actually, I think, called The Ancestors. You guys should enjoy that. But yeah, we wanted to create a connected experience between this first boss and the second one, which is something that we haven't really done before. And that second boss was, cue next slide.
So our second boss was Yakimaru. Is Yakimaru on there? No, that's Durzag. There we go, Yakimaru.
Excellent. It's difficult to see these slides.
So this was our second boss in raids. We really, really wanted to like ramp up the difficulty and do something really, something quite hard that we've not done before. I think the rule of thumb that we had was if we managed to get a legit kill across the team, he wasn't hard enough. So I don't think we actually managed to get a legit kill on Yakimaru across the combat team without actually cheating in some way. But you guys did, so you're better than us. So the interesting thing with Yakamaru is that he's a stationary boss. Stationary bosses are quite different from normal bosses that can walk around, because bosses that are mobile, they can control the battlefield a lot easier. As Deg was saying with Derzag, it was a lot about control and sort of kiting him around. But we had to make sure that with Yakamaru, when he dives into his different pools, that he was able to still control the battle even though he wasn't actually moving himself. So one of the examples of the kind of trying to break up the group dynamics of you guys in raids was his strangle ability. So when he actually strangles players, he'll actually target the top DPS before he goes into the burn phase, which means that you're actually relying on the guys in your group that are doing less damage to actually do damage to him. So that was quite interesting. So we were watching the streams on release, and it was good fun. I remember me and Dave sitting there, had several Twitch windows open and watching you guys just throw yourselves at these bosses again and again and again. But with Yakamaru, it was really cool seeing you all kind of go through the different pools and slowly learn all the mechanics and stuff. And then I remember that great moment where first guys that got through to the last pool, fourth pool, kill the fourth pool, and then we introduced Mirage phase. And that was our proper oh snap moment where we just wanted to make everything just go completely wrong for you. And I think it worked quite well. It was quite good. So yeah, that's kind of raids at the moment and what we've done with raids so far. But do you guys want more raids? More raids? Should we give them some more raids?
I settled then.
Yeah?
I was on the fence before, but if they want it, then
Yeah,
let's
okay.
go for it.
So, do you want to hear about what we might do with some more raiding? Cool.
Well,
what we got, Deg?
First, you're going to have to wait because we're going to talk a little bit more about what we have already got in raids. Get a bit ahead of ourselves. Also, one of the things that was really interesting about the Twitch stream when we were watching on release was that some guys were taking inventories full of sand to try and fill the pools at Yakamaru. It was pretty funny. Okay, so that was a little bit of what you have seen about the raids release. There's actually some stuff some work we did during the raids release that you guys haven't seen yet. And the first of those things is Battle Virago. So, along with Tusker and raids, we actually made a concept for Virago, armored him up, because he was going to be killing Tusker. And basically, we didn't have time to do this, but now it's something that we've sort of got in our back pocket for the future. And we're sort of coming up with good ideas of how we might be able to use him. We actually had a debate about whether he should have a giant drill on his hand or a ray cannon. So now he's got some sort of mashup of both of them. And then we also sort of moved on from this concept, and we came up with Obsidian Virago, and then another really cool one, Volcanic Virago. So there we got some really cool concepts that came out of the Rays release that we weren't actually able to work on, but you might see them in the future. And then another thing that was in the Rays release, this one I think you guys are going to enjoy, is Gobi Volleyball. So if we can just cue the video, I'll talk you guys through this. So this has been live in-game since the Rays release. And do we have the video going? Here we go. So basically, there's something you can do after you've killed Beastmaster Derzag. We're not going to tell you guys what it is. We're looking forward to seeing people trying to figure this out. But you hit the last gong, and it spawns in Gobi Volleyball. And nobody's actually found this in-game yet, but I'm sure after this, a lot of you will be going and trying to figure it out. But as you can see, we had Mod Barnes, what's your mod name? Oh, here's Mod Barnes. Mod Barnes, Mod Campbell, and some of the other video guys playing here. As you can see, they're having quite an intense game. Mod Campbell with a little drop shot there. They're playing, so basically you can see the Gobies on the other side. You'll see when they end this point, they actually keep score and everything. So once people figure this out and it gets out there exactly how you do this, I'm looking forward to seeing some teams, maybe 5v5 raid teams playing a bit of volleyball against each other. So this point's going on a little bit long. The ball actually gets faster the longer the point goes on. And there you go, you see they lost there. So that should be the end of the video. So yeah, something quite cool there. It's been in raids since release, no one's found it. And you'll have to tweet us if any of you do manage to find it. Okay, so that's all the stuff that we've done for raids so far. Now we're going to move on a little bit to what mod Avatar was talking about a minute ago, which is raids in the future. Cue the slides. Okay, there we go. We good?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, here we go.
So with the future of raids, we haven't entirely figured out how much we're going to do next year, but there's definitely going to be another release next year for raids. We've listened to your feedback. We know there are some people who are a little concerned about the difficulty, how it's sort of difficult to get in because of the group requirement, and we're definitely going to take that into account for future bosses. So one of the concepts that we've got, if we can, there we go. So Durzag isn't the only super-powered air route on Mazcab. He's just sort of one of the generals there of Tusker. And we're going to show like a sort of different side of that, where Durzag is very physical. We've got this air route shaman sort of commander guy who uses very mystical powers, who uses Tusker-based magics, and uses like things like illusion and misdirection rather than just hitting you in the face. Obviously, he's got a giant club, so he might also hit you in the face, but he's going to shoot lightning at you as he does it.
So yeah, I mean, we are definitely going to carry on with the sort of Tusker theme. But as you can see here, we've got this is another one of our elemental titans. So you've seen Yakamaru, the water titan. This is our air titan. So the ideas for the air titan we had is you've probably seen the big north side of Mazcab. There's all of that kind of empty space. We've got plans for what we want to use that space for, and this is one of the guys that we want to put in. So the kind of ideas we got for this fight is you might be fighting him on top of a mountain, and we want to try and get something in where you'll be fighting him sort of on top of the mountain and then on the clouds, and he'll be crashing through clouds and causing like the field at the top and the clouds to sort of get smaller, and we get some really interesting stuff that we've not really done before. But raids is really where we want to start pushing our PVM and doing some really cool new stuff. So yeah, here's another one of our elemental titans.
Spoiler. Yeah, and then we've also want to come up with sort of, for this fight, we're thinking having to keep track of the arena that might be in a volcano that's erupting as the fight goes on, and you have to be very aware of where you are and how long you're taking, and just keeping an eye on what's going on as you're fighting this, giant fire monstrosity.
A giant fire blur.
Yeah, a giant fire blur.
Yeah. So, as for sort of raids as a whole, as Deg mentioned earlier, we have been listening to all the stuff you've been saying, the group requirements, the accessibility. We definitely want to address that. So alongside the new bosses and stuff, we will be bringing in quality of life improvements to raids. We do want to make them more accessible, but we do want to keep them as our group bossing content. They won't be the only group bossing content that we do, but for the time being, we do want to keep them as groups. But that's not to say that we won't bring along some improvements to the grouping system, make that easier to get to, maybe some sort of queuing, and just generally make raids an easier and better thing to play. But the systems that we put in place for the original raids release, like we planned for raids to be getting all these extra updates as we went on, so we haven't got to do all of that kind of groundwork for raids again. We can just keep building on the system that we've already got in place.
Cool. So, who's excited to get their teeth stuck into those new bosses then? Come on! Right, we'll get your feedback and we'll make them as awesome as you guys want them to be. So, what more are we doing for PVM in 2016? Well, you might have heard ModPie talk about earlier this thing we have called Thursday Afternoon Personal Projects, TAP. We talk about it on Twitter sometimes. Basically, that's become more than just an afternoon, it's a full day where we get to work on the things that we're most passionate about, all sorts of our little ideas that we have at the weekends or when we're in the shower. We get to work on them on these Thursdays every other week. So we have a lot of ideas. Us as the Combat Council, we're constantly thinking about new things to excite you guys with combat. And pretty much every one of us is working on some sort of boss or combat encounter in our personal time. So I, for instance, am working on a council fight where you might have to fight a set of demons, and you have to choose which of them you want to crowd control at one time, and then the remaining ones will work together to try and take you down, and it'll affect the fight. And then Mod Ramen is working on something.
So I'm working on two things. I really wanted to finalize next hard mode, see if I can do something with it. And then I would also like just to make a fun boss. We call it Tantibus.
Taptibus.
These guys call it Taptibus. Just something I've been working on over the years as I've learned to code. Hopefully one day you'll see it. We'll see.
Cool. Were you going to talk about something you've got in your
Is it important? So I'm working on basically hard mode Corp. Who'd like to see that? So Corp is really easily soloed nowadays, and I want to cut that out. And hard mode Corp is basically going to be a fight where we're going to pull your team in two. Half of you are going to get shoved into the spirit world to fight the real Corp, and half of you are going to be fighting the spiritual Corp. You're going to have to work together, both sides. Even though you can't interact, you're going to have to work together in order to kill it and his friend, the Dark Core.
Cool. So yeah, these are just ideas we have and we want to work on. It's important to make the distinction that stuff that isn't in the release schedule, we'll probably take it to someone like Mod Osborne and be like, look how cool this is, let us get it in game. But let's talk a bit about the stuff that is in the release schedule and we're definitely bringing to you in 2016.
So, over the past 2 years, we've really released a lot of group content. So, we really need to start filling the gaps. So in 2016, I'm saying so an awful lot as well. In 2016, we're going to be releasing a solo boss. We're going to start to fill them gaps. We're not too sure what it is yet, but if you tune into Mod Mark and Mod Osborne's presentation later, you might learn a bit more about it.
Cool. And then, finally, one of the other things we got in 2016 is a secret project which, unfortunately, Mod Mark and Mod Osborne want to keep for their talk later. So we can't actually tell you what it is, but we're all super excited about working on it. You might know that a few of us are in the same team within Jagex. We're on the watch. We're going to be working on this project, and we've got so many ideas for it. We just can't wait to get it out there. But you're going to have to go along to Mod Mark and Mod Osborne's talk later to find out exactly what it is, and make sure you do, because it's exciting. So, we've been the Combat Council. That's it for combat. And basically, just tweet us your questions if you've got them. We're going to pass the mic around now, and if you've got any burning questions, you're going to be able to ask us right now. So, do we have anyone who can run a mic around? One of us,
If we don't manage to get to your questions right now, we'll also be down in the crypt for the next little while. You can come and grab us individually and ask questions there.
Okay, so put your hand up if you've got a question. We'll try and get a microphone to you. Do you want to run out there?
Also, try not to report bugs. Just, I don't know, give them to Pi. Pi loves a bit of bugs.
Yeah, if you've got any bugs, leave them out now. Tell John later.
I'll ninja that fix in for you.
Okay.
Hi guys, thank you so much for the talk. I noticed that there are two very separate communities in PvP and PvM, and I'm wondering if there are any plans on the horizon to maybe encourage more cross-disciplinary play, to encourage PvMers to start PvP and vice versa.
Certainly we've tried this in the past, like things as simple as sticking a boss in the wilderness. And it works provided we don't have a new awesome boss to come out, because when the new boss comes out, they were like, yeah, we want this. And we don't want the PvMers to feel forced into PvP, because they love PvM. And if you just chuck some resistance but in there, you know, we get a great update, go a bit sour. We would like you guys to PvP, and it would be great if in between killing the bosses, you know, you killed time with PvP, but we're not going to force PvMers to do PvP. We want you guys to play the way you like to play.
Okay, so I've got a two-part question. In DarkScape, Wilderness is a bit different. You've got the mini-map fading out. You sort of haven't got far ahead that you can see. Will that ever be coming into RS3 at all, or is that a DarkScape only feature?
At the moment, it's definitely a DarkScape only feature. When we made DarkScape, the wilderness encompasses PvP in RuneScape. You know, it's a really iconic place, and in DarkScape we didn't want to lose that. So we took the wilderness and we kind of dialed it up a little bit. We hid your minimap, you can't see the white dots anymore, and we pulled in the fog and made it like darker to make it a lot more tense and a lot more scary. With regards to seeing it in the main game, I don't think we would, because it's already got that feel in the main game because it's so different to the rest of the game, and also it kind of gives DarkScape its feel.
One of the things about DarkScape is that because it's so separate from the main game, it means we can do like really drastic, crazy things in it, like all the things you were talking about earlier. So the things that happen in DarkScape won't necessarily transfer over to RS3, and yeah, that just allows us to do lots more things with DarkScape and react quicker to your feedback.
And then the second part to the question is, me and his lordship were talking about this last year at RuneFest, and we were sort of saying that back in the day, rune rocks in Wilderness were quite commonly visited, but now you can pretty much find it anywhere. And we were just chucking an idea around about a dynamic skilling location, so like a skilling plot that changes locations throughout the Wilderness, so the PKers, it makes the PKers work harder, but it also provides a bit of safeguarding for the skillers, but enticing them into Wilderness sort of thing.
We've actually talked about things like this before. We've got a ton of ideas that we want to implement into the Wilderness. It might be a little while before we get round to implementing things like that, but that's like definitely a great idea, something that we want to do as well, and yeah, implement tons of other cool things as well. Okay, we got any more hands, any more questions?
Yeah, I've got one here. At the moment, teleblocks and entangles have got a shorter attack range than ability casting spells in the Wilderness, so you can be casting a stun, but you can't teleblock them, so it's out of range, and it just says you can't reach that. Is there any plan to like change that so PvP will be a bit more fluid?
1 second. Do you guys like the new pie pad, by the way? It's pretty sweet. So what you're witnessing right here is a fix by a ninja going into the pie pad. So yes, we will fix it.
2 more questions, guys.
Okay.
Would you ever be graphically updating Corp or DKs? Because I know a lot of people think it's like the Black Knight Titan and they don't need to be updated.
DKs. DKs are awesome. I know they look really bad. Hopefully one day we'll graphically update them, maybe make the fight a bit better, rather than them just hitting you with one combat style at a time, and maybe even update the drop tables, but there's no plans for it really at the moment.
The thing is about things like that is, like the Black Knight Titan, if we're going to graphically update anything, we'll make sure we ask you guys first. If you really disagree with it, you don't want us to graphically update it, we can leave it. So we'll only do that if you guys are all right with it.
My favorite thing about the Dag Kings is when we did the Christmas update where we put Santa hats on them, we like quadrupled the number of polys on them. That's how old those are.
Right, final question.
As so like lots of people would agree with me, the threshold for Bommy and a Vit, is that going to become a thing or not?
No.
Really? Oh, I'm gutted then. Fair enough.
Shut down. Okay, that was a pretty quick question. Have we got any others, maybe? One more near the middle, the front?
Right at the back.
Right at the back, then? Okay, last question.
Will we ever be able to fight gods?
Ooh, that's more of a lore question, really. I don't see players ever getting as powerful as the gods are in order to fight them, but I mean, we've kind of fought gods in the way that you fought against Tusker, kind of, and we'll have more things like that probably, but I would never see the player going toe-to-toe with a god sort of one-on-one. Maybe in some sort of Shadow of the Colossus style fight, but yeah, we've got nothing planned for getting powerful enough to take down gods yet. Okay, so that's going to do it for all the questions. If you've got any more, definitely come and see us. We're going to be in the crypt. We're going to be walking around. You can tweet us. I think our Twitters are still up there. Yep. So definitely do that. We've been the Combat Council, and enjoy the rest of your RuneFest.
Thank you very much.